Hello, everybody. I am Miss 5000 Watts, and I will be stepping in for Bife for this video. So I hope that I can do this lore justice and that you enjoy what we are speaking about today. And today we're talking about the story that's truly at the heart of the dungeon, the Ahamkara Hefend. We're talking about Hefend's deal with Naim, his reasons for turning to darkness, and his corruption of the House of Kings into scorn. We'll also be talking about the warlord who informed Naim of Hefend's location, the same warlord who killed Hefend in the first place. Our story begins with Naim's discovery of Hefend. Hefend agreed to the bargain Naim proposed, and the two were bound together. In exchange for granting the wishes made by the civilians in Naim's territory, Naim would bear all of the ill consequences of any bargains made with Hefend. For a time, this bargain was at least reasonable to both parties, and the Wish Dragon and the Guardian would enter into a sort of steady partnership. The powers and gifts of Hefend would be marvelous to behold, but as with any bright burning light, it's liable to attract attention. Hefend might already been dead, but as Naim began to breathe life into the EDZ, the House of Kings sought to leave her for dead as well. They wanted Hefend's power for themselves and would suffer no rival, even if they were a powerful light bearer. In her last moment, Naim would ask for one final wish from her friend Hefend. She asked the Ahamkara to blight the House of Kings. According to Crow, these were her last words.
Naim and Hefend, that's the Ahamkara's name. They'd become friends. Pretty tragic, actually. Saladin said their bond was like a mutual domestication. But it wasn't long before the House of Kings stormed the castle.
When the Kings came, I take it Naim didn't survive them?
No. And in her final breath, she wished ruin on their house. That her vengeance follow them into the grave. Very particular wording.
As Naim was struck down by the House of Kings, Hefend was only more than willing to oblige, but Naim's vengeance would need to wait. It would take some time for the opportunity for such vengeance to arrive, and in his weakened state, Hefend would need to bide his time. Eventually, a moment would present itself near the end of Season of the Witch. With the witness disappearing into the pale heart of the traveler, and with Xivu Arath being humbled and weakened by Eris Morn, suddenly a power vacuum presented itself. Prior to this point, the Taken had always had a superior will to control them. Now, without the witness or Xivu Arath in the picture, Hefend was able to step in. He used his strong will to draw the force of the Taken to his fortress. As he did this, he allowed their corruption to run rampant through his remains. In doing so, Hefend followed Riven's path and became one of the few Ahamkara that were able to manipulate Taken energies and the power of the darkness. This would be how Hefend would raise the House of Kings into scorn, and it would be what allowed him to fulfill Naim's wish of having her vengeance follow the kings into the grave. There was only one final piece of the puzzle left to uncover, and that was us. As our quest began, so too would Naim's vengeance. Alongside Crow, we were tasked with investigating a mountain range in the EDZ, as there were reports of scorn in the vicinity. That led us to the Warlord's ruin and brought us into conflict with the Broken Knights, Dragon Cult, and Avatar of Hefend. Upon first clearing a ruin, a set of Ahamkara bones could be found at the summit of the mountain. Those bones beckoned us forward. It's from here that Hefend would begin to speak to us, and you can read his words in the quest steps for the dungeon quest. Those words in total are as follows. When first approaching that initial collection of bones, Hefend says, "Don't be afraid, come a little closer." We would then hear the voice of the Ahamkara more clearly. Hefend made our objectives clear thanks to our new objective logs. We needed to start gathering the Dark Ether from the Scorn who hoarded it. It's possible that this Dark Ether was significant given that it might have been the catalyst for what turned these Fallen into Scorn. Hefend said, "See how they feed their totems blight and bone? They believe it worship. They believe this ground sacred. Their small desires feed my power, feed you, O vengeance mine. This shows us how Hefn was actively able to feed and retain his awareness. The wishes from the Scorn, their acts that seemed adjacent to worship, were what has fueled his power anew and has given him new life to reach out to us. He encouraged us to exact Naeem's wrath once more. From here we're implored by Hefn to collect more shards of his bones and something called Blighted Wishing Glass. The relationship between Ahamkara and glass isn't well explained, but it's likely a commentary on the relationship between what is and what is desired. Looking through glass at something you want can leave the object of your desire looking unchanged, but it can also be something that distorts its shape. In the same way, wishing for that thing from an Ahamkara is liable to leave that thing warped and exploited. Here we're also instructed to retrieve the bones by dispelling the taken corruption that covers the many doors within Warlord's Ruin. Having doing so, we retrieved more of Hefn's remains from these blighted shrines. Here Hefn said, "The Scorn carry my bones like relics. They worship, they pray, they form rituals. They place them on shrines to bring good fortunes, but with each wish made in ignorance, I dig their graves deeper." Hefn encouraged us to go deeper into the ruins, saying, "These vermin claim what is mine, again, as if to repeat the past. Soon it will be over. I can feel blight overtaking me, O vengeance mine. When judgment is had, you must end me as well." Gathering the last of Hefn's scattered remains yields yet another statement on Hefn's fate. It read, "I am soon to be whole again, and it brings my heart joy to see these rotted kings break against you. Enough of this sad world. All is soon to be well. I am coming to see you again, Naeem." Even as death approached and Hefn wished for peace, he welcomed the presence of his old friend Naeem, with whom he had struck the most remarkable of bargains and crafted the most marvelous of vengeance. After having collected all the bones, Hefn implored us to seek out what power remained within the ruin and use it to reach his final resting place, saying, "One final task is yours. Gather what power remains in this ruined place and open the way to my resting skull." We did so and once again charted our course to the top of the mountain. At the base of the tower where we found the first of Hefn's remains, we discovered a portal of blight. Using the power we gathered, we opened the way and found ourselves standing in Hefn's cairn. He shepherded one final set of words to us in this moment, saying, "Naeem's wish is fulfilled. Return my bones to where Naeem enshrined them and let my spirit finally find rest." And so we stepped upon the precipice of the cairn, a deep catacomb within the inner recesses of the fortress, a place of sanctuary within the howling cold. There we finally found it, the true resting place of Hefn. As we reached out to lay his bones to rest, Hefn spoke to us, but using a voice most familiar to us, the voice of his killer.
"And so, the great hunt claims the life of another Ahamkara. You slew me 14 times, Wish Dragon. I landed a killing blow only once. Hardly seems fair. They say that to draw a weapon against one of your kind is to wish for victory. Even if the beast is slain, the wish is granted. The dragon wins either way. Perhaps that's why they send me on these hunts. Because I do not wish to do this. The Ahamkara are a force of nature. To blame you for an ill-conceived wish is like blaming fire for burning down a house. And yet, when a fire rages out of control, it must be extinguished. There is no joy or ambition in it. Only the knowledge that it must be done. Rest well, dragon. Let this castle be your tomb, one befitting a creature of your stature. That is the closest thing to a wish you'll get from me.
So we now finally know the last part of the puzzle. When Naeem first found Hefend, he was dead, and she had known where to go at the direction of an old warlord, a powerful warrior of great stature. The warrior was none other than Lord Shaxx himself. And so with Naeem's vengeance finally enacted and his remains laid to rest, Hefend's chapter now closes. With this video done, we've now covered most of the story of Warlord's Ruin on the channel, but there are a few loose ends, not least of which is the story of Lord Shaxx. That is what we'll be talking about in the next video, Lord Shaxx, the Dragon Hunter, and his history with the Ahamkara. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Byf, for allowing me to record this video for you. And please remember to like and subscribe to hear all about Lord Shaxx in the next video.